needs a therapist? Just get 2 mics.
I'm not sure how many people do public therapy. I'm not sure this is a great idea.
Welcome, everyone, to our therapy session.
Even though we spend tons of time together, this might be a moment of discovery.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of discovery.
I think we've fallen into things that most annoy us, that we most like doing.
Do you enjoy loading the dishwasher properly?
It's satisfying. It's like Tetris in real life.
What is one thing I do that drives you absolutely crazy?
Guess what? All the from inside the Amazon box is now just on the island, and the boxes are just right there on the floor. It's like, is this where these are supposed to be? Are these now island things? No.
I apparently am okay living in my own filth.
It's not filth. You're very, very clean. You're cluttery as hell.
On some posts, I took the bait and I was like, I am engaging in this. This is ridiculous. People started writing back to me. Someone posted yesterday to me, yeah, but if the moms don't create these invisible labors, we would all be living in messy filth. Most men don't care about putting things or trash away. They would be okay sleeping surrounded by trash. This is a woman stewing in a problem that she doesn't want solved.
There's the value of the comment section. It's called comments. It's not called conversation.
What do you want our kids to see when they look at our marriage? I remember we would like stand in the kitchen and hug each other. She would come over and just like look up at us to be like, what's happening? Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. I want them to see us as a unit that's interchangeable and multidisciplinary, but inseparable.
Being married to Alexis is
never boring. It's always a thrill ride. No, I just try to hold on.
Awesome. We have to go get our kids. Before we get into today's conversation, 2 quick things I want to mention. First, the Breadwinners newsletter is on Substack. It's where I put the stuff that doesn't fit in a podcast episode. Think of it as a group chat you didn't know you needed. Real talk about money, childcare, partnership dynamics, and the messy middle of building a life that actually works. No polished advice, just the honest, unfiltered conversation we'd be having over dinner. Feel free to subscribe at wearethebreadwinners.substack.com. Link is also in the show notes below. And second, if you're getting value from these conversations, I need to ask you to do something that makes a real difference. Subscribe and rate the Breadwinners podcast wherever you're listening. And here's why it matters. Every subscription and rating tells the platforms that this content is resonating, which helps us reach more women who are redefining what it means to be a breadwinner and their families and communities. And honestly, it's what allows us to keep producing this show and growing this movement. So hit subscribe, leave a rating if you can, and help us reach the women who need to know they're not alone in this. Welcome back to the Breadwinners podcast. Today's episode is a little bit of a different take. Some people know you, like really know you, sometimes better than you know yourself. Not the resume, not the highlight reel, the actual you. My guest today is that person for me. He has seen me at my most magnetic and my most completely undone. And I've seen the same in him. That's what you sign up for when you're actually in it with someone. He is my husband, my partner in the truest sense, the person I'm building this life with, making hard calls with, raising 4 kids with, arguing with, and choosing every single day. He's my co-architect of something wild and full and complicated and ours. And he has opinions about the dishwasher, strong ones, detailed ones he will share with anyone who will listen. Because apparently there is only one correct way to load a dishwasher, which I beg to differ with. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the part of the breadwinner story we don't talk about enough: the marriage, the partnership, what it actually looks like from both sides when 2 people are navigating ambition, identity, money, family, and each other, all at the same time. This is a real conversation. No script, no canned questions, just the truth. Todd Grantham, welcome to the Breadwinners podcast. Welcome to the Breadwinners pod.
It's being inside the dome. It's very intense. It's very intense.
This is going to be my favorite episode to record. But also, I'm nervous as hell because I don't know what you're going to say.
Yeah. I think this is going to be, even though we spend tons of time together for obvious reasons, this might be a moment of discovery.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of discovery. We were reading through the questions last night and you were like, oh, I'm not telling you my answers. And then I realized, oh, this is going to be a therapy session.
Yeah.
Like, who needs a therapist? Just get 2 mics. And
I'm not sure how many people do public therapy. I'm not sure this is a great idea.
Right. Welcome, everyone, to our therapy session. For the audience, this is my husband, Todd Grantham. We have been happily married for 9 years.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you did that math because it was.
Carry the one. We have known each other for 16 years.
Yep.
And I would like to start let's just start with your origin story. For the people who don't know you, who are you? How do you move in this world? Tell us about Todd Grantham.
How do I move it? I'm going to start with the how do I move in this world? I'm 6'6", so I
Right.
move not lightly and not gracefully in this world. I still have a joke that I'm convinced is going to land someday. So when people ask how tall I am,
Let's hear it.
how tall are you? I'm tall enough for my feet to reach the ground. I'm convinced. I'm convinced it's just in the delivery. It's going to be funny to someone someday. So my origin story: Midwest boy,
Mm.
born in Iowa, outside in a tiny little farm town near Des Moines. Grew up with a cornfield literally in my backyard. Me and Ashton Kutcher, I guess, have that in common. Then went to Minnesota and was in Minneapolis for a while through finished high school, university, and then moved to San Francisco shortly after university. I just started working, but spent as much time in the Bay Area, San Francisco, as I did in the Midwest combined. So I'm not sure where home is. Someone was telling me yesterday that like
Mm.
they're going to move home. I was like, where would I move home to? Because my parents didn't grow up in Iowa either. They grew up in
Mm.
Missouri, and so my sense of home is not I don't feel like I missing a sense of home, but
Mm.
it's not geographically defined.
How
So
is it defined?
I think it's defined by like where my people are, and so it can be transient. It's not like, "Oh, I need this scenery for it to be home," or, "I need to know where that grocery store or that
Mm.
restaurant is to be home." But it is an interesting thing. So, I mean, and maybe that's why I kind of have this mentality of always moving forward. I mean, I was not a military brat. I mean, that is a totally different upbringing, obviously, but moved enough not to feel like, "Oh, this is what defines me." So
Mm.
maybe it's my activities and the people I know and the things I do that define me, not my geography or something. But anyway, it's a different sense of home. So I was in the Bay Area for about 25 years. I did a bunch of brand advertising and things like that. I got married young. Well, young, at least by my standards, I was 25.
Mm.
Um, and had a kid, my first child when I was older, at least I thought I was older at that time.
How old were
I
you?
guess I was 35 when he was born, Fletcher. And it was amazing. I was like, oh, I'm an old dad. Of course, cut to a few years later, and three more at the age of 50 or near 50 or
Uh,
after 50 is suddenly like, oh no, that's an old dad.
right.
When people, pause whether am I the grandfather or am I the father, that's when you know you're an old dad.
They
Um,
keep us young.
they keep us young.
So I'm having you on today because I sit in this room with so many amazing women, mostly women, but people. We talk a lot about personal dynamics within your family, raising children, your career. How do you make it all work? What does it look like? And people sharing their opinions. And I said, why don't I have that conversation with you? Because we're the ones doing this. I've sat in this chair and spoken on behalf of you. And sometimes I don't get it right. 'Cause you listen to the episode and you're like, "Well, that's not accurate." I'm like, "Well, can't undo that." So, let's talk about some of the key themes that always come up in these conversations. But I also wanna peel back the curtain on, like, what does our day-to-day look like? How we define partnership? Because I think it looks different for everybody. But the hope is that people can hear our real raw story/therapy session and hopefully get some learnings from it that they can take home or things that maybe aren't relatable to them, but they found interesting.
Yep.
So let's start with some kind of tactical things, I guess. But how do you think we split things at home? Meaning like the responsibilities and how we run our household. And do you think this is a broad stroke question, but do you think it's working? We have three little kids at home, one older child who's in college. We're both doing consulting startup worlds. How do we actually split things in our house?
I don't know that it is always working for anyone. I mean, I
Mm.
think in reality, there's always going to be moments of this ain't working.
Yeah.
And evaluate because things change so much. What the kids are going through, in terms of their development or our work things. And so I think this notion of is it working is a very fleeting,
Mm-hmm.
or it has to be judged very, in very short time frames because it needs to be, is it working for me right now? And then
Mm-hmm.
let's make adjustments accordingly. But in terms of how we split things, we've never really talked about it per se. I think
No.
it's not like you've said, you're going to do the dishes and I'm going to take care of the. I think we've fallen into things that um, most annoy us or that we most like doing.
Mm.
So by default, like, oh, I'm very anxious about, in my case, I'm very anxious about dishes being all over the kitchen.
I was wondering when you were going to bring that up.
We didn't get very far into it. We're a couple minutes in. And so I'm gonna do that because, I think I'm doing it for the family. I'm doing it for us, but I'm also doing it because it's a thing that bugs me. And so I'm gonna go to the things that either I enjoy doing or just
Do
annoy me.
you enjoy loading the dishwasher properly?
Well, I think it is universally understood that there's only one way to load a dishwasher.
Is it universally understood?
Well, there I should say there is a universal law that there is one way to load a dishwasher. A lot of people don't know it. Those people are crazy squirrels. I live with one of them. Actually, I might live with 5 of them. We just the other 3 haven't shown themselves fully yet. But certainly
Ugh.
the older son is a crazy squirrel and you're a crazy squirrel. So yes, I do quite enjoy it. It's satisfying. It's satisfying. It's like Tetris in real life. How
Mm.
often do you get to take those Tetris cubes and make them all work? The question is, when people see a dishwasher properly loaded, how does that not register for them to then load it that way the next time? This is the universal question that still remains to be answered by anyone.
From the crazy squirrel perspective, I look at the I look at the end result. Do the dishes get clean? Yes or no?
Yeah, no, that I think that's a fair. But what if there are, because it was loaded in a certain way? What if there are still dishes in the sink that are like, oh, I'll get them next time? Do those count as did they
Okay.
get clean
Okay, fair enough. The dishes that don't make it into the
because
dishwasher.
it's loaded quite inefficiently? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It
Was
is
this an
true.
unlock? Was this an unlock
This is
for
an
us? Did we
unlock.
make progress here? Okay.
Um, but it is true. We haven't actually discussed, I'm going to do these
Right.
things and you're going to do those things. And I actually think most relationships or people, collective people who are running households, I think that's the norm. People
Mhm.
just assume, oh, I'm going to go do this. And then they just keep doing that thing. And in some families, maybe there's a system of balance. And in other ways, there's not. And I think that's the conversation that comes up a lot present day is maybe one person is doing 80% of the things and the other person is doing 20%, or at least it feels like that.
Well, it's also I also kind of wonder if it would if it's like, okay, these are your 5 chores, Alexis, and these are your 10 chores, Todd. If it would feel if that's how it would feel like
Mm,
chores versus if and then it's like, I kind of begrudge I have these stupid chores, and
yeah.
can't she help me out on some of my chores? And she seems she's done already, so she's not gonna help on mine. I guess I just have to keep plundering.
Yeah.
Versus if we take it more from like I said, you attack the things that are either most annoying to you or most pleasurable to you, and then like the rest of our stuff, you just kind of work it out. But as long as you both go into it with that agreement and you
Mhm.
both show up equally, like, hey, we're gonna both we know there's X amount to do.
Mhm.
We'll attack it in different ways, but it still all has to get done. And so we'll meet somewhere in the middle. I was thinking about this the other night when we were talking, in terms of the value perception of is it fair?
Mm.
Like, is the way we split it fair? And I was thinking about it. I think because of your individual bias, I don't think there's ever a way for you to think of it as fair. Meaning, um, I do all the things that I do, and I think they're very valuable because they're also the things that I elect to do. Like, I think loading the dishwasher and cleaning the kitchen and making the breakfast for the kids is extremely valuable.
Mhm.
So I put it at whatever, 8 points on the 10-point scale. you may see them as, okay, it doesn't really matter how the dishwasher's done, and it actually doesn't matter if we reload it twice, and actually the kids could have easily had a smoothie on the way to the thing, so you might rate them as, yes, I acknowledge he did them, that's great, but I give them 6 because they're
Mhm.
just not that important.
Mhm.
So what I look at it is like, why didn't she give me 8 points? It's because the things that y I chose to do aren't as important to you as they are to me, and so I'm always gonna bias my inputs as more valuable than you're gonna value them
Mhm.
because I chose to do them.
Yeah.
Or they either they bugged me more, they made me more anxious, or I
Uh,
just got more value out
I
of them.
agree with that, and by the way, you making breakfast for our kids every morning is hugely valuable. I am so grateful you do that every morning. But this comes to my next question. What is something you do for our family that you feel goes unnoticed? Maybe it's the 0 points, like, I don't wanna say credit, but it's like, what's the thing that goes unnoticed?
Um, I don't I think you notice everything. Um, I'm not sure. I think you notice every individual thing at one point or another. I don't think you would notice the volume and consistency of my
Mm.
things. You know, I mean, you said the other day when I was sick for like 24 hours and you were like, I didn't, I can't remember how you phrased it, but you something like, I didn't realize how much you did.
Yep,
And
that is true.
it's not so much, like, oh, she doesn't even notice that I, whatever, wipe down the walls when they get really dirty. It's that how frequently all those things are happening. Like,
Mm.
I'm constantly moving. I'm constantly moving. And I take that from my mother. My mother can't sit still. I mean, you kind of talk about you have an ADD,
Mm.
ADHD. I don't remember the difference. Personality. And I think that's true in terms of how you attach tasks. But I don't have that. But I do have I must constantly kind of be doing something.
Mhm.
I don't sit around. I don't sit and watch TV really. I don't,
Mm.
and so I think some of that sometimes, like, as I'm walking through the house, as I see things, I do them along the way kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so maybe that, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think you do acknowledge and notice the end result of them,
I
which
think
is
that's true because you're moving around the house and I'm not there, and I might not see that you did something, like literally doing the thing, but I do notice the end result. What do you want our kids to see when they look at our marriage? And part of it is physical, but I do think we actively try and be affectionate around our kids.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it showing them the importance of hugs. Like, I remember it must have been Callan when she was little, and we would, like, stand in the kitchen and hug each other, and she would come over and just, like, look up at us to be like, "What's happening? Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What do you want them to see?" And
Well, and I think it's a little bit what we were just saying, and this is kind of, it's a little bit the breadwinners whole thesis. I I want them to see us as a unit that's interchangeable and multidisciplinary, but and inseparable. And then they're part of the extended. They're just an extension of that unit. So
Mm.
it's not like, like, again, generational differences. But my parents, I knew my mom's role and
Mhm.
I knew my dad's role, and
Yeah.
I don't. It's not to say that they shouldn't see us as different. They shouldn't see us as one thing. They should see us as having different strengths and different, and I think they come to us for different things,
Mhm.
but they should see us as one unit, and they should see us as like, this is a tight core.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so yes, for sure, it's the affectionate things and the hugs and the kisses and the giggles, but they should also see us like, and, you know, even working through things. Like we've talked about this in the past, like we get in arguments and
Mhm.
you can tell they're listening. And you have to have it within a certain boundary, of course,
Right.
but I think it's okay because then they also need to see us reconcile that,
Mm. Yeah.
whatever the thing is, and I think I think they need to see the whole organic process,
Yeah.
not sterilized, not compartmentalized, but also more powerful together. I think they need to see, and this is something we talked about in our wedding vows, something I said to you early on in our relationship. It needs to be 1 + 1 = 3, and I think that as a in this case, is 1 + 1 equals like what, 7? How many of us are there? Uh, but
A lot.
but that notion of that compounding effect and like they
Mm.
they get together and we are already getting a little bit of the devious, "Hey, can I play outside? Did you ask your mother?" "Yes." "What'd she say?" "No." "Then why are you asking me?" I mean, they're already doing some of that,
Yeah.
but, but I'm hoping that that will quickly be like, "Oh, that doesn't work," because they're aligned.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that consistency is important. And you're right. I think it's generational because, we talk a lot with this community about this third era of the working family
mm,
or just family, actually. It's not necessarily working family, but um, which is the 50s and 60s were set in a certain way where dad went to work and mom stayed home. The 80s and 90s were different, where it was like starting to become kind of a shared responsibility. And today's society and culture is like dual income households and stay at home dads, and things have just evolved. So I do think it's important to show that to our kids so they can then, like, I'm very curious what the next generation of the modern working family is going to look like for them. 'Cause I don't know. I don't think it's going to look like this.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
nobody will be working because AI is doing everything.
I know, that's exactly what I was just thinking through. It's like, what will work even be?
Yeah,
It's gonna
ugh.
change a lot.
I want to talk about some societal things that are happening because you and I actually talk about this a lot at home with Mike's not on. Um, is this like, what does modern fatherhood look like? Because these conversations are being had or not being had in society and on social media, and then coupled with that is kind of this like internet war on husbands. I don't know if war is the right word, but there's a lot of rage baiting and people generalizing men as in a certain behavior, which makes me very angry. And you and I talk about this often. And I have put myself in the center of this because I've created Breadwinners, which opens up this conversation around celebrating women and celebrating high achieving working moms. And so it's opening up those conversations. But I mean, I call this hot take corner. I don't agree with a number of the things that come up in these conversations. So, and this is what you and I talk a lot about. So, I want to have those conversations live with the community. How do you think fatherhood is portrayed now? Does it reflect your reality? Again, broad statement, fatherhood looks different for everybody, but at a societal and cultural level, what does it look like today? Or maybe like where are some of the things that like push your buttons?
Yeah, I mean, so much, um, in motion. It's hard to, know exactly w to say this is what people think, because I think, there are lots of different peoples along a journey of
Mm,
evolution, in terms of what these things are, but I do think it's at least my experience is that there are a lot more dads doing a lot more. Like, I was just talking to our neighbor, taking the garbage out last night, and he was saying, "Oh, yeah, I was just finishing up the dishes, and I then made the kids' lunches last night," because it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we were taking the garbage out. Um, and I'm thinking about my other friend who is a single dad, and he's, like, doing all the things, and so there are a lot of, and I think there's even in the pop culture conversation, there's a very modern, not too dramatically, weird, modernization of dads. Like, yeah, they're engaged. They're doing just as much stuff. There's no, it's not women in the kitchen and dads in the den anymore. That era is gone. So I think that's a very real conversation out there. I think, and very real reality. And I think it is heading that way. I mean, I like to think that where we're at is where it should be and where it is going. Of course, there are. But then I take that and then I bifurcate it down to trailing cultural conversations that are still happening. One is regardless of what's happening, seeing dads as like, frankly, how my dad and your dad were. Like, yeah, when dinner's over, it's the women in the
mhm,
kitchen doing the dishes and cleaning up and doing all the things, and they were the ones who made the dinner as well. They wouldn't have any idea how to put a plate away. And the men are and the because so thus the men go to the living room and sit on the couch and watch some kind of sport. and like, oh, they're messy, and basically the wives are the moms even of the child, or even of the husband. And it's like that doesn't. I mean, again, I guess maybe there's some guys that try to get away with life that way. Maybe the women just want it to be that way, because it's an interesting thing because, and we've talked about this in the context of politics too. It's easier to complain about something and not actually fix it because it allows you to still complain about it.
Mhm.
I mean, if you actually did something and fixed it, you
What are
wouldn't
you
have
left to complain
you
about?
wouldn't have your identity to
Mm.
complain about. And it kind of, so it's actually just better to keep painting the problems, because if you start painting solutions
Mhm.
or just accepting and observing a reality, it becomes much more problematic, because then what are you left with?
Mm.
And so part of it, I think, might be that, like it's just easier to keep painting men that way. But what's interesting, and this is where I kind of follow this other bifurcation path, is, and I'm on this, I still want to be a man's man. I want to work on the race car. I'm allergic to horses. Otherwise, I'd want to ride a horse. I'd want to lasso cattle, and I want to be all of the manly men stuff. And I know people are like, oh, well, doing dishes is as macho and masculine as it gets. Kinda, yeah. But actually, as a man, it is fulfilling to have all of those romanticized things. And so I'm not prepared. And this kind of applies career wise. We've talked about that too, career wise
Mhm.
and at the home. I don't want to walk away from those macho men things, but I absolutely enjoy and have no issue, and definitely want to help do the dishes
Mhm.
and put the kids to bed and change poopy diapers and suck snot out of their noses. No question. But I still also want to be kind of a guy's guy too. And
Mhm.
so, and that's where it felt like for a bit there
And I don't
that,
think those things are mutually exclusive anymore, and I think
yeah,
they were before.
I think I think they were mutually exclusive because they literally were exclusive. Like you didn't
Mhm.
do that other thing,
Mhm.
so you were this thing.
Right.
And then I think there was a period of time where the conversation became, oh, well, if you're doing these other things, you're no longer the
Mhm.
macho man.
Mhm.
You're clearly whatever. You're actually just wanting to be the woman's role or whatever. And I'm hoping it's coming back now. Like you could be a cool, you could be Paul Newman cool,
Mm.
do Paul Newman cool stuff
While loading the dishwasher.
while doing the dishwasher. I mean, well, maybe not while loading the dishwasher, but
By
certainly
the way,
despite
you
loading the
you
dishwasher, you're still Paul
should
Newman cool.
wear your cowboy hat while you load the dishwasher.
That would help.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that would help. And nothing else, or just asking, for clarification.
That's it.
Okay,
Just your cowboy hat.
okay. That'll be quite a visual for everyone.
Our kids will ask lots of questions. I'm bringing up my phone because there's kind of this, mm, I don't want to say trend, but like there's this idea of rage baiting online, which is people are posting things to get people in rage to start a conversation, which creates more engagement and more likes, and then the algorithm, da da da. Well, I took the bait on some posts that you and I have, in the privacy of our home talked about. And this one, I just couldn't, I took the bait and I was like, I am engaging in this. This is ridiculous. There's a post from last week. I won't say who it's from.
Yeah.
A 2024 study found that male partners were only fully responsible for one invisible household task. Want to guess what it was? Swipe to find out more. The answer: the garbage. Yes, garbage was the only task where male partners handled both planning and execution. Everything else, the women studied carried most of the thinking and doing. I couldn't hold back. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You're painting the male species as incapable of doing things aside from planning and executing taking the trash out.
Mm.
Like, give me a break. So I commented. By the way, my comment has 61 likes. This is going to be
Oh,
a
you're
hot take.
winning. You're definitely winning
Yeah,
then.
yeah, rage bait. That literally definition of rage bait. This is going to be a hot take, but here goes. What should also be studied is how much of the invisible load is created by moms because we don't know how to let go sometimes, and it has to be done our way. Some food for thought. My husband and I split responsibilities, and I found I need to let go of how I want it to be done so he can have autonomy in his responsibilities. Lit up. People started writing back to me, this like whole thing. And you said, Alexis, you took the bait. Like, stop engaging.
Did you?
No.
Yeah.
This is the last one. But again, I just want to paint this picture because I think it is really important for us to take the reins on if I'm going to have a podcast, I want to have a really strong opinion on this. I think it's
Sure.
important to change this conversation. So this is a week ago. Someone posted yesterday to me. Yeah, but if the moms don't create these invisible labors, we would all be living in messy filth. Most men don't care about putting things or trash away. They would be okay sleeping surrounded by trash and the things on the floor. I mean, I sat with it for a few hours because I was like, wow, like I'm about to unleash on this woman. But this is a problem. This is a woman stewing in a problem that she doesn't want solved
Right.
because she thinks the male species wants to sit in filth. And this is getting exacerbated online. I mean, the woman who posted this has 337,000 followers.
Right.
And I can't see the stats on it because somehow they were hidden. But let's just say that there's 10,000 likes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's two things to dissect there. There's the value of the comment section
Mm. Oh, the comment section.
because and I think that's the thing. It's called comment. It's not called conversation. You may post things in there
Mhm.
hoping for or wishing that you were creating a conversation. You are not. You are just creating a compounding opportunity for people to say whatever thing that they want to everyone to believe is true about their life. I mean, so that's the that's where the bait part of it is. It's
Yeah.
it's the illusion that that's actually
Mm.
people's minds can't be changed there. They're
Yeah.
just going there to hear other people say you're right.
Mhm.
That's the part of the problem. But I think in terms of men sitting in your own filth, I mean, I'm just thankful that you tell me once a week to bathe. Otherwise, it would have been 10 years and I would
I
have
mean, it's just
not bathed.
disgusting.
No, I think, again, I can't speak for all men, but, and I think everyone's different.
Yeah.
There are women who are just as uncluttered and just as unaware of filth as there are men that are those things, and there are probably men and women that are both clean and clutter free. So,
It's the broad sweeping generalizations
that's the issue
that it's
with
the
everything.
issue. And then this is like word. It's like, oh, well, a research study. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, a research study of women. Well, are you going to do a research study of men and women?
Yeah, this is the thing, and we also know this, that, because we were involved in the industry tangentially, like, research is very easy to do wrong. I mean, it's very hard to do great research. Very, very hard.
Yeah.
To not have biases in the questions, not have bias in the recruiting, not I mean, all and let alone the biases in in the insights you discover from these things. So this is all
Mhm.
there's a research study that will say anything you want.
Yeah.
But I think the hot take of is the right one, which is let's let's have an actual conversation
Hmm.
about what really are the 10 and more importantly, what's your reality? You should maybe instead of painting the brush of an entire gender, 50% of the planet, say what's the thing that I'm struggling to deal with?
Mhm.
And that may not be her husband's issue at all. It may be her issue. Or it may be her husband's issue.
Mhm.
Uh but yeah, obviously people just seek to the public forum so they can get validated.
Anyways, that was my one take the bait, and I will go back to not taking the bait. But it's hard. It
Well,
just like it enrages me
yeah.
because I
That's
would like the conversation to be about, and we talk about this a lot actually in our home, and I talk about it on the podcast. I I I hope the norm becomes the hero mentality, which is
yeah.
solutions based.
Mm.
Yeah, there's this thing we're facing. What solutions are we bringing forth to assume good intent? Again, I'm not trying to be Pollyanna, but the hero mentality versus the victim mentality.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I think what you're doing with this podcast, with Breadwinners in general, um, is you're trying to have objective, meaningful, constructive conversation.
Mhm.
I think that's the issue. Like that's the thing you're frustrated is right now there's a bunch of telling and it has a one-sided. I don't It is interesting. This is the other thing we have talked about in the past. And this is a way too um dangerous of a topic, third rail of a topic, but
Well, hot take corner.
well, and I'm sure it's so hot take, but it's warm at least. Th Those kinds of comments, um, and I would love to have the stats on this. I'd much rather be factual than just kind of opinion. How many of those kinds of comments come from women
Mm.
versus how often do you see a men's post that, "Oh, women only sit around and do dishes. They never"
Well,
whatever.
you're not allowed to
Like
say that. You'll
exactly.
get canceled.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, so my gender, and has certainly has not had the ability. The question is it because we don't have the ability to because of the risk of what happens if we say something, or is it that we actually just don't even have that interest in saying that? Like, I don't have any interest
Well,
personally in,
sure.
like, making a sweeping comment about women in general.
Well,
All women
this is
women
where the
just wanna
generous
have babies. They don't ever wanna go rock climbing.
barefoot and pregnant. Okay. There's a few things to unpack. One is, yes, to making broad sweeping generalizations about certain genders of how they feel or think or what they believe. And unfortunately, the generations before us did make those statements
Sure. And somewhat live that life too.
and lived that life and made those statements and put down women to the point where they were like, okay, well, the women in the kitchen didn't feel like they had a sense of worth. And so that happened
Mm.
for generations. The pendulum is swinging the other way. And I just would like, you and I talk about this a lot, the pendulum swinging in society and culture, in politics, in, you know, how we think about parenthood and husbands and wives. You and I have the belief that we would like the pendulum to sit in the middle. And I just don't think that's how society works. Like,
Yeah,
you can go back thousands of years.
I mean, I guess some would argue that, sitting in the middle doesn't create any motion,
Mhm.
so you kinda need these swings to test boundaries of things and then figure out which things you wanna keep and which things you want. I mean, evolutionarily, if you think of it, like, you gotta have a few of the mutants. Some of the mutants will be really successful mutants, some of the mutants will not be successful
Mhm.
experiments, and you keep the ones that work and you don't. And so, if you're just sitting in the middle, it's a static system and nothing actually changes for the better or worse.
Yeah.
And so I guess that would be the rationale for people saying I'm whipping it up on the sides so that we can move somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
forward or backwards, who knows? But
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not to say that swinging pendulum is a bad thing. I agree, but it is, I think it exacerbates a lot of these problems.
for sure, yeah, people want to amplify the again because it gives them identity.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's really dangerous to define your identity based on a concept. I think you should hold concepts strongly
Mm.
and you should have high convictions, but it shouldn't define your identity.
Okay, so I'm gonna transition this to raising children
Oh boy, good luck. Let's see this.
and our values, because
Mm,
there's I think people conflate values and believing in a concept.
mm,
Maybe not conflate,
mhm,
but I think one influences the
mhm,
other.
mhm,
And I've had guests on the pod who are like, the things that I experienced 20 years ago is my baggage, and I am projecting it onto the next generation. We talk a lot about this because our oldest is 19, so we can have these conversations with him. But we feel it's important to talk about our values. I don't think we overtly say
mm.
these are our values, but we have conversations with him about the importance of keeping an open mind and hearing other people's perspective. What is what does that look like for parenting where you take something you believe in so strongly and is it okay for you? Is it important for you to teach that to your kids? Is it okay for you to teach that to your kids? Because I think it's important for your kids to we kind of set the scaffolding and then they need to have their own opinions. But the reality is I actually think that's really hard to do,
Have your own
especially as you're
opinions or to set the
let
scaffolding?
your set the scaffolding and step away and let your kids have
Ah,
their own opinions. I think this is more for people who have kids that are older and teenagers and, as they can actually understand how the world works and
well, I think this is, um, I agree that and setting the scaffolding and letting them figure it out is I think the best structure role a parent can provide in that, um, you know, I guess this goes to the nature nurture kind of concept, but I fundamentally believe that, the kids are going to be who they are from day one.
Mm,
And your job is to simply surround them with the most positive, and open-minded influences possible so that they can have the fullest version of that and the best version of that. And I mean, like, think about religion. Um, and I don't live up to this, but I wish we could. It just seems like a lot of work. I would love to expose the kids to all the religions of the world, and I think almost academically,
mm,
they should partake in it to a degree spiritually so they can truly understand the concept. But Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslim, Christian, Judaism, they should get a sense and a taste for all of them because they're all constructs for the human existence. They're all concepts for how to think about our role and purpose and relationship to each other and the world and
mm.
the universe and our eternity, whatever form you take of that.
yeah.
And I think the more you can kind of get exposed to that, I think I think you should believe in people's ability to an agency to say, okay, what do I most need then?
Mm,
You know what? That one aligns with me. Or actually, I'm going to take 10% of each of these things. And so I think it's important to fill them up and fill them with curiosity and exploration and a sense of like, okay, what, how do I want to move through this world to your opening question? And so I think that would be far more valuable. I think that's far more valuable than saying, oh, I'm going hardcore on Greek Orthodox and we're going Greek Orthodox and that is the way to see the world. I just think there's been billions of people on this planet, tens of billions over time. There's all kinds of different beliefs that have made it easy for people to get through the world, and some beliefs have made it very hard for people to get through the world. I think people not it's not to say we don't provide them a foundation. We do by providing them the structure and the guidance and the understanding and comprehension of all the possibilities so that they can find the best true way for them. I think that is the value I would want is always be curious, always be exploring, always be thinking and but be true then to what feels right for you, whatever that ends up being. I don't think it should be predetermined or narrow. I feel like that closes off doors.
Yeah.
And maybe goes back to because I don't have a home. I don't know what my home is. So my home is keep exploring. And what am I around and what do I most, hold, you know, strongly in my conviction of collective experience, cumulative experience.
Mm.
It's probably
Well,
not the answer you wanna hear because I know you were raised very differently, but
yeah. Well, we talk about this a lot because there are the scaffolding look different in my household.
mm,
And I don't know that I would have it any other way because it showed me the importance of community and culture
mm,
around a religion. Like that's how I think about my religion.
mm,
Is like all the people and all of the traditions. That's how I define my religion. So, but was the scaffolding pretty tight? Yep, it was
mhm,
pretty tight,
mhm,
but I'm okay with that. And now that I'm older, yeah, I do look at other religions and try and take bits and pieces. Anyways, we get in this is a religion conversation, but
But yeah,
It comes back to values.
whatever values it translates to, doesn't have to say, it just have
Yeah.
to be religion. Your perception of, yeah, anything.
Yeah. We do a lightning round
Oh boy.
at the end of this. But before we get there, I think you just answered this question, but I'm going to ask because I ask this to all of our guests. What legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, I think that is what I was just saying, that I want it's not about a money or a thing or an artifact, although those things may come, but
Mm.
those aren't the defining things. I think my legacy is I want to leave on this planet for hyper curious, hyper creative, hyper open minded, and ambitious creatures that moves the world forward, in whatever form
Mm-hmm.
factor they want. I mean, that I want them to feel infinite possibility, but also know with that comes the need to explore and
Mm-hmm.
stay open minded and
Mm-hmm.
mobile. I want them to leave with that. That's how I think of it. Is like, if we leave the kids with a mentality, a mindset, and a
Mm.
philosophy, that works. What's yours? Did you ever get asked what yours is? What's your legacy?
Hmm. No, I'm always the one asking the questions. Damn.
Oh, turn the mic.
Um, I want to leave. I mean, if I had to pick one thing, I want to leave 4 children who are incredibly confident in themselves.
Mm,
Because the confidence coupled with being humble will take you very far in life.
mm,
I mean, there's a whole host of other things. I mean, resilient and happy, and I mean, the list goes on, but it's really about confidence coupled with being humble. And you're never better than anybody else, but you should feel pretty damn good about yourself.
mm-hmm. Self-belief.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Let's work towards that.
My no pressure. Um, your, dad is unfortunately no longer with us, but he was an incredible, incredible, incredible human. There is not one person who would argue that. How has your dad impacted how you are a father?
Oh, whoa. Um, it's funny because he's definitely was of that generation that, I mean, he cleaned a dish occasionally, but it wasn't it
Mm.
wasn't his default. And so he definitely was more of that. And like, he did the man things. He took care of the cars and the
Mhm.
windows and those big things and trees. Um, but it's funny, even with all that. I mean, maybe he's my model of the Paul Newman who will still do the dishes, because
Mm.
he um he would play with us, and I mean, especially with the grandkids, he was just so engaged. He was childlike in his playing with them
Mhm.
and his open-mindedness to them and his openness and his vulnerability with them. And he was just pure of heart. I've tried to remember when the kids are like, "Let chase me again," or, "Oh, let's wrestle, let's tickle me on the bed." And it's like, "Ugh, I don't wanna do this." But then I was like, my dad would do it.
Mm.
My dad would have immediately been there, and they're gonna remember it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember it when he did it with me,
Mhm.
whether he remembered it or not. So,
Mhm.
uh, I think it's that, like, be there, you know?
Be present.
Yeah, and it's yes, you could be the tough dad who builds race cars and sells auto parts and is on the road a lot, and um, but you could also be the one who's plays fort with you.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. The last bit is our breadwinner bites, which is our rapid fire questions.
Mm, 'kay.
What is one thing I do that drives you absolutely crazy?
Wow. One? How long does this go? Um,
It's rapid fire, make it quick.
um, the task half done. I mean, we have a phrase, "Don't put it down, put it away. Don't put it down, put it away." It has yet to work. But, like, so, I mean, this applies the task half done. Like,
Mm,
I come home, it's like, "Oh, the Amazon boxes are all been opened. Great. Guess what? All the shit from inside the Amazon box is now just on the island, and the boxes are just right there on the floor." It's like, what is this where these are supposed to be? Are these now island things?
I
No.
apparently am okay living in my own filth.
It's not filth. I mean, it's not like it's
Kidding.
dirty. You're very, very clean. You're cluttery as hell.
I am cluttery as hell. The one thing I do that makes you feel most loved.
You are I mean, this is gonna sound very functional, but you are always hyper aware of people's healthiness. Like, are we healthy?
Mm.
Like, are you taking the right supplements? Are you eating the right food? Are you doing
What
like,
does your poop look like?
what is your oh my god, really? We're gonna put that on camera? We are. Like, show me your show me your you wanna see all the kids' poops. Thankfully, you don't wanna see mine that often, but
No.
occasionally you actually wanna see my poop. It's really, really disturbing. Um but, like, I mean, and it's not I mean, it's not like you're a medical doctor. You will although you do lots of research, to kind of think but you genuinely, like, you believe in that longevity. Like, you want us all around. I mean, I think it comes from a very, very pure emotional place.
Mm,
It's a functional thing, but it's a pure emotional reason, I think, and motivation.
thanks. It's true. Poop and all. What is one thing you love about how we run our household?
Um, One thing I love about how we run our household. I, um That's a tricky one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any complaints about our household. So, like, I
Mm,
guess I kinda love it all.
mm,
I love that I do love that we again, it's exhausting sometimes, but I love that we've got enough structure that it feels like they're gonna be safe and healthy. And I do love that, especially as they're hitting this age now, that they freely l do chaos, and we don't chase them on every little thing. Like, they start screaming in their rooms. There was moments when, like, you'd hear screaming in the other room, and we would run.
mhm.
"What's happened? Who screamed? What's happened? What'd you do?" But we're now like, "They'll work it out. They're gonna figure it out." And it's like the 3rd round of screaming that we eventually go
Yeah,
check in
well,
on them.
if you hear a
And
certain
I do like
pitch, you're
that.
like, "Ooh, somebody's
Like,
hurt,"
"Okay, this
but
one's real." I do like that. I like that we're, like, getting to the
Mhm.
place where, like, these kids are capable. And
This is a thing that we do. This is how we parent is especially because 'cause they're getting to this age. If one of them comes over and says, "Tag did such and such," our answer is, "Go talk about it with him.
yeah. Yeah.
Don't come tattletale.
Yeah, that's cool.
Go talk about it with him because that's what you're gonna have to do in life."
Yeah.
Doesn't always work, but, um, what is your honest take on the breadwinners? And do you think it matters? And you don't have to say yes because you're sitting here with a mic in front of you.
Or that you're my wife.
Or that.
Right, no, two things you could
Sure.
totally disregard,
Right.
as I answer that. Sure, sure, sure.
Mhm.
Um, I've never heard you ask anyone else that. That's interesting you asked me
Mhm.
this question. Uh, I think it is a great conversation to have. I think just to be starting and genuinely a conversation because I do think it's going to evolve, not just the breadwinners, but the conversation itself is going to
Mhm.
evolve. And I think this notion of what is the role of men and what jobs can they do? We didn't really talk about that part, but like what jobs
Mm.
can the modern father do now and how do they do it and how does it work? What's their balancing version of the like the mom is experiencing? Because
Mhm.
it's now like 4 things that are being coordinated. So I think it's really important that it be created as a platform space where exploratory conversations and experiments can happen. And I know you're trying, and I think it's important to get like an academic on here. Despite my cynicism about research, I think research can be great. You just have to get lots of different pieces and perspectives from
Mhm.
research. It can't be from one thing. You have to get lots of different. But I think that's important to get in here. Like, okay, how is this shaping at a macros and numbers standpoint? But I think it's a really critical conversation because there's no doubt the society is going through a massive evolution and change and disruption. I don't know if it's an evolution, it's just definitely disruption. And so this, I think, can be a great forum for like, okay, how do we now all adjust as a family unit? So
Mm.
I think in that way it's great. It's early days, but I think it
Yeah.
has the potential to be a great space.
Finish the sentence. Oh my
7.
God, I actually don't want to ask this.
Oh boy.
Being married to Alexis is.
Never boring.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I think it's the thing that most immediately drew me to you and as always like it's always there's like always energy. There's always like one more thing, one more day, let's go a little bit further. Like it's dynamic and exciting and it's electric and it's the ability to um gather people together to create moments long before the Breadwinners. This is
Mhm.
the thing you did, and so it's always a thrill ride. So I just try to hold on.
Thrill ride. Woo! I ask this to every guest.
Hmm.
What was the last text you sent to me?
I know you asked that to every guest. I think mine was around like how well Tag was doing at swim lessons this morning. But
Mm.
I have, and maybe this is going to be unique to us, and or maybe it's a thing that's. I think it's less about the last one versus the
Mm.
volume of texts. Like
Yeah.
on average, what is the trend? What's the red thread through your text? Because like I was looking for, you sent me in directions to the hotel where his swim lessons were, and I had to scroll back through like 30 or 40 text messages, which you sent last night to get the directions. And so it is certainly the last text was very functional, like, hey, Tag did great at swim lesson. But it's more that even when we're sitting maybe a room apart or a couch apart, like, yep, here's this, and it's an archive of things, which I think is interesting because, again, I don't know if this is unique to us, but in our early relationship, we texted on WhatsApp and we archived a bunch of those.
Yeah.
We just saved them. And so I do think, I once had this concept for a book of in this very big job I was building and doing of I wanted to save all the emails of this amazing thing we were doing. And I just wanted to print the emails. Like it wouldn't be anything else.
Mm.
Like the book would just be told in chapters and you would follow the story narrative, but you would just by reading the emails of the different topics. I think you could do that with text messages with a relationship. I think actually you find like you could take
That is
text
such a
messages
good
and make like
idea.
a
Oh,
book
using
that
AI?
yeah, that of course you have to bring an AI into it. Of course, a human can't write it. Of course, obviously,
But no, why?
a human could possibly do
Well, how
this.
is a
But
human gonna read all those text messages?
there was days when we used to read. There was things like Iliad and Odyssey were very long books that people read. You're right; they don't read it anymore, but they used to be able to read lots of
Mm-mm.
words all together. Um, sure, yes, you could use AI, but it would be an interesting thing to kind of create like what are the relationship cues across the
Yeah.
text.
It is a really good point, and you and I have spent our careers storytelling for other people and for other brands, but it's something that I advise people who are building startups. For me, I mean, fortunately, so much of this is recorded because there's a podcast and the dinners get recorded, and so I have physical,
Yeah.
artifacts. But I always advise founders or people in their careers as they're building,
Mm.
take pictures, take notes, journal, because you're gonna wanna go back and remember it, and it's gonna be fuzzy. In 20 years from now, what you were building will be fuzzy. And so I think it is important to have a reflection in have an archive of our text messages.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing. I mean, I think about it like I'm kind of this multi-generational father. I feel like I had an age when I wasn't a father and I got old and then I had a kid and then I got really old and I had a lot more kids. And so I've gone through these different eras of my life. Um, and because of technology now, but I think of the photography and text
Mm.
messages and emails that like, they didn't exist in the first third of my life because it didn't exist, I mean, I remember getting my first email account when I joined a job but there was only 2 browsers on the 10 computers, like, you had to go to a special computer to have a browser. It's not like there was no archive. The
Yeah.
archive was virtually non-existent in the '90s and the early 2000s, and then suddenly we had really crappy phones with pictures and then eventually text messages, like, these weird
Mm.
Europeans are doing this SMS thing, I don't know what that is. But now, of course, it's prolific, but it's funny because those early eras of my life, I don't have that kind of archiving, and
Mm.
I mean, I'm so glad that it exists now, but I'm so sad for, to your point, the fuzziness. I have extreme fuzziness, but of course, we're the first generation that's going to have the opportunity to live with a truly archived. But that it does make me sad for those older times where I just don't have as many pictures as I wish I did, or
Mhm.
emails or texts or whatever.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good reason to
Yeah.
make a book out of text.
Let's make a book. Thanks for coming.
It was a pleasure.
Should we do this more often? You know what?
Well, let's see
Don't
how the
answer
crowd
that.
reacts.
Should we do this more often?
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Like, comment, say never bring
Like,
him back on again.
like, comment, subscribe, share. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Awesome. We have to go get our kids.
Okay, I'll see you at lunch.
Bye.